Hi everyone, this is Meads and it's time to paint the SD Xeon. So first thing you'll need is, well, obviously your kit, but I'm just gonna paint a segment of it or section of it, which is the skirt. Paintbrush, kinda need to change my paintbrush, but I typically like the ones with a brown bristle. I think they're horsehair or something, maybe synthetic, but I like the brown ones. They last longer as opposed to the yellow or white ones for acrylic, I guess. And I'm using this type. This is going to be the white one. I really don't like painting white since for some weird reason it doesn't stick well. But for this, I'm gonna be using it. And you just need a palette, which I have right here, which just somewhere starts to paint, and I have some already dried up paint there. But I usually clean it, maybe once a month, or not too often, I guess. And you gotta have a paper towel. Pretty much, it's where you can set your drying pieces, or in case you make a mess and you don't mess up your table. I recently just cleaned my table, so there's hardly any paint on it now. Alright, so let's get started. I typically, work while listening to music, but since we're in YouTube, I can't do that. I just had paint over there. I really don't thin it, although sometimes I usually wash my brush first, although my water is not clean, but I typically wet my paintbrush first and get a little bit of paint, kind of wipe it off on the side, and just grab the piece and apply it. And yes, it looks really messy right now. But typically, I just, spread the paint as much as I can. And this is just the first layer. And the first layer always looks ugly. Yep. And I'm just going to spread it out as much as possible. And just go over it. And I'm pretty much going to go over the whole thing and start my video again. So after several layers later and your fingers covered in paint, you're gonna get something like this. So this is after 3 or 4 layers, probably just 3. And when you're painting, so if your first layer is going this way, the second layer you're gonna go side to side. That way you're gonna have a better coverage, the whole thing. And as well as each layer, let it dry, maybe a few minutes then before you apply the second coat. That way it's you don't mess up the previous one. And as you can see at the bottom, I didn't fully paint the whole thing or this side here because it's gonna get covered. There's really no point of doing so. And another thing I can compare is this one is just one layer, as you can see. This one is several layers, so this one is more wider than this one. Another thing you'll notice is I went over. Actually, I could just sloppily paint it out like what I did on the feet right here, which is totally fine. But again, this only works if you're using a paint like ceramic coat or apple barrel. I'll be using black or high gloss black eventually later on. But yeah, that's and I'll show you why. I just went over because you can actually easily clean that. And I think that's about it. I'll go ahead and finish this up, and I'll show you guys when I start painting the black one. Alright, so I actually kind of started painting the skit already. As you can see, I've added red on top of the white, as well as the skirt right here. It's kind of weird though. Some sort of pigmentation. It's really uneven right now, but as well as over there. But I'm really hoping that when the paint dries up, it'll settle, and as well as adding the top coat will help fix that. But we'll see how that turns out. But from afar, as you can see, it's really nice. That has that deep red color. And this color is, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's Red Bird Cardinal by Deco Art. Also, I'm gonna just do a quick demonstration using the Xeon's face, which I haven't painted yet, and I'm just gonna quickly dab paint on top of that. And I mean, initially it's gonna look like a mess as always, but again, let it dry, add more layers, and there you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this with the red. I'll show you guys a little bit of black, then other colors as well. Alright, so almost done painting this. This is pretty much the cardinal, or the redbird cardinal, or the crimson red, and that's after several layers. And actually this one might still need a few more just to balance it out. But on this part, I'm gonna show you guys one of the things I'm doing with my paints. Since if you notice this one, actually I kind of cleaned up the edges. And again, you don't need to have a steady hand when you're using this approach. So pretty much you're gonna have something like this. As you can see, there's still white from the the primer I used, or it's not really primer, but it's like the foreground when you're painting your kit. And actually, I should have used the white, since it's a dark red. Could have used gray or even black, but I tried it. It actually kind of sort of worked out, but not really. Oh well, too late to change now. But what I'm doing here is I'm just scratching the paint off the edge, and I'm doing this, slightly, little by little. So you don't want to scratch too much, and you kind of just want to go all the way to the edge, or till just a little bit of extra gap there. Then when you're done, you kind of just brush it off. It's helpful if you have a big brush. There we go. This only works if you're using or you're painting on top of the shiny plastic of the model kit of Bandai, or any model kit in general actually. So if it's smooth, you can scratch it off. But if there's already paint here, you can't really do that, because you're gonna scratch up that paint as well. So typically I only do it on the first paint, then on the second one try to be a little bit more careful. And if it does spill over on this side, actually the only remedy to that is paint the same color as this one till you find the right balance. But I do scratch it off, mainly because sometimes I keep this plastic color, as you see in my other kits. So there you go. That's one of the reasons why I like using acrylic paint, because it's easy cleanup. Alright, so after you painted a kit, pretty much is the part where you add the clear gloss, or any kind of clear coating you like. You could go with matte, or semi-gloss, or satin matte. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint it, and also realize how the matte, or the paint I'm using is matte. When I put the clear gloss, it's obviously it becomes shiny or glossy. So I'm gonna just cover the whole thing with this. Depending on how you like it, you can coat it multiple times. Again, let it dry. I typically just paint it, once or twice, just get it fully covered. And again, actually, I don't know if I mentioned it before, you gotta do the clear gloss first before you panel line your kit. And I think it just works better that way, as opposed to panel lining it first before clear coating it, because sometimes the clear coat is a little bit more stronger in terms of its chemical makeup. So if you use panel lines and you clear coat it on top, you might smear it. So every time you're adding something new, even if a clear coat, panel lining, or just paint, let it dry in between coats. Typically half a day. If in between, or even a half a day, just make sure it's dry before you apply the second layer of anything. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this up. A little bit more on top. And actually I clear coated the other parts already. think that's about it. And here's the legs, or the lower torso, and I'm just gonna actually let it rest there, so I'm not touching it, like so. And also kind of finished the head already, as you can see here. Also, you notice the eyes. I actually put the sticker eyes in the middle, so you can actually, I don't know if it's gonna work out on this one, but you can actually move the eyes. Maybe I put it too tight. Supposedly I was able to move up the eyes. It's not working right now. So yeah, I'll let this dry and move on to panel lining. Alright, so after you clear coated your paint, it's time to panel line it. This is optional, really depends on you. Highly recommend if you have something like a light color, but since this darker shade, darker red and black, sometimes you don't really need to, but it kind of helps. And there's different colors. I'm just using I don't know if you guys see that, but Pigma Micron, it's a Sakura marker 005. It's a 0.20 millimeter, right, as you can see there. And I really like this. It's a lot finer than the Gundam marker, so you can get more detailed lines. A good example is right there. I'm just gonna go around this part right here. And again, I highly recommend doing this after you clear coat the whole thing. It makes it a lot easier. Plus, the clear coat is actually like a how I should say, a more stable, or it's like almost like a plastic. And if you paint you panel line your kits with a matte coat, it will get clogged. Your marker will get clogged, and you pretty much wasted your marker. Happened to me a couple of times, and sometimes it's really tempting to do touch-ups while you're still painting. Not good. So highly recommend you don't do that. Alright, so another line here. So just be careful. To this point, you can still clean it up. As you can see, I've been just using my fingers, and sometimes it doesn't stick. Just go over it again. Make sure it's a straight line. I kind of made a mess there. There we go. And this one too, I'm just gonna try to outline it. It's a bit better than just coloring the whole, or darkening the whole indentation. There we go. So this is, you can see the lines as opposed to just having plain. And again, it's really up to you if you want to do this. It's optional. But yeah, that's pretty much it. After you clear coated your kit, go ahead and panel line it. Yep.